Hey there, I want you to picture something for a moment. A wall, not made of brick or steel, but of trees. A living, breathing barrier of green, stretching over 4,000 miles across the entire width of a continent. It's an epic vision, born from an even more epic crisis. And its fate is tied, in a way you might not expect, to another kind of wall, one made of policies, patrols, and razor wire. Welcome back, I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is the Unraveling Thread. Today, we're connecting two dots that are often kept deliberately far apart. We're talking about the Great Green Wall of Africa and what Europe is building in response. This is episode 23, The Great Green Wall, Climate Migration and the Fortress Europe Response. So, let's start with that wall of trees. The Great Green Wall is arguably one of the most ambitious ecological projects ever conceived. The idea is to plant a mosaic of trees, grasslands, and sustainable land use practices across the Sahel region of Africa, from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east. The goal? To stop the relentless advance of the Sahara Desert, to restore degraded land, and to create millions of green jobs. It's a story of resilience, a literal rooting down in the face of environmental collapse. It's a project I find incredibly inspiring as an engineer. The sheer scale of the problem solving is breathtaking. But here's the unraveling thread. Why is this necessary? The Sahel is warming at a rate about 1.5 times faster than the global average. Rainfall patterns are chaotic. Fertile land is turning to dust. For the communities who have lived there for generations, this isn't an abstract climate model. It's the disappearance of their livelihood. When your fields yield nothing, when your animals have no pasture, you are faced with a brutal calculus. You move or you perish. This is climate migration, not as a future threat, but as a present, daily reality. Now, let's pivot our gaze north, across the Mediterranean. For decades, Europe has viewed migration from Africa primarily through a lens of economics and conflict. The narrative has been about people seeking a better life, fleeing war or poverty. And while that remains true, the foundational layer beneath that is increasingly ecological. The farmer leaving his parched field in Niger isn't just poor. He is a climate refugee, even if our legal frameworks stubbornly refuse to call him that. And Europe's response? It has been, overwhelmingly, to fortify. We've seen the evolution of what analysts call Fortress Europe. This isn't just about physical fences at the Spanish enclaves of Ceuta and Melilla or the heavily patrolled Greek islands. It's a vast, complex architecture. It's funding for border surveillance systems in third countries. It deals with governments to intercept and detain migrants far from European shores. It's a policy mindset that treats human movement as a security threat to be managed, rather than a humanitarian reality to be engaged with. The underlying message is one of containment. Keep the pressure, keep the people, keep the problem over there. So we have these two colossal projects running in parallel. One, a wall meant to hold back a desert and allow people to stay home. The other, a fortress meant to hold back people fleeing deserts. The tragic irony is that they are two reactions to the same root cause, yet they so rarely speak to each other in our political discourse. I think about this from my own perspective as someone who chose to migrate from Bangladesh to New York. My journey was one of education and opportunity, paved with visas and paperwork, a path of privilege, frankly. But Bangladesh is also on the front lines of climate change, with sea level rise salinating farmland and displacing communities in the coastal south. The lines between an economic migrant, a climate migrant, and a refugee are not just blurry. They are often meaningless to the person packing a bag. You're just a person whose world has become untenable. The drive to seek a foothold somewhere, anywhere, safer is a human instinct. I understand that instinct in my bones. This brings me to a critical and uncomfortable question. Is the Great Green Wall being seen in European capitals not just as an ecological project, but as a geopolitical buffer zone? Is the support for it? And there is European financial support, driven purely by altruistic climate solidarity, or is it also, quietly, seen as a way to reduce migratory pressures at the source? To fix the problem so the people don't come? The answer is probably a mix of both. And that's where the ethical knot tightens. Using adaptation funding as a border control strategy risks turning a life-saving project into a tool of containment. It says, Here are the resources for you to survive, but only if you stay where you are. It can ignore the brutal truth that for many, right now, adaptation is already too late. The real failure of the Fortress Europe response is its short-sightedness. It treats the symptom, not the cause, and in doing so, it exacerbates the crisis. Hard borders don't stop climate change. They just funnel desperate people into more dangerous routes, through the merciless Sahara, onto ricketer boats in the Mediterranean. They enrich smugglers and criminal networks, and they corrode the very humanitarian values Europe professes to hold dear. It's a policy of fear, not foresight. What would foresight look like? It would mean connecting these two stories explicitly. It would mean Europe matching its border security budgets with equally ambitious, no-strings-attached climate adaptation and green transition funding for the global south. Not as a migration deterrent, but as a moral and practical imperative. It would mean finally creating legal pathways for climate migrants, recognizing that some displacement is now inevitable and managing it with dignity, not detention. It would mean seeing the Great Green Wall for what it is at its best, a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience, and seeing border policy not as a wall, but as a need for managed, humane flow. The unraveling thread here is that we cannot cordon off the world's crises into neat compartments. Ecology, migration, security, justice, they are all woven together. The dust of the Sahel settles, in a metaphorical sense, in the political chambers of Brussels. The decisions made in Berlin or Paris directly influence whether a community in Chad can hold on for another season. My takeaway is this: the Great Green Wall is a testament to our ability to confront a planetary problem with vision and cooperation. The Fortress Europe response is a testament to our retreat into fear and short-term self-interest. The future will be dictated by which of these impulses we choose to amplify. We can invest in holding back deserts and creating opportunities where people are, or we can invest in holding back people and pretending the deserts aren't advancing. We cannot do both with equal conviction. The thread, once pulled, shows us that our security is not found in higher fences, but in more stable ground for everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Unraveling Thread. If these conversations matter to you, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and share it with someone who sees the connections. For more from me, Ibnul J. Farabi, and the team, visit Light Knot Studios at lightknotstudios.com. Until next time, keep tracing the threads.